Check the description for the following discount codes.
Those of you who watched my review of the new DDX wheel stand from GT Amiga will already know all about the front end of what we're going to be looking at today. Today we're just going to look at the rear seat frame add-on, a 60 quid upgrade to turn your DDX wheel stand into a full-size entry-level cockpit. And it's interesting really because this price-wise and performance-wise is going to be kind of competing with the GT Amiga Art, because that's kind of like my go-to recommendation for a entry-level full-size cockpit before you start thinking about aluminium profile or anything that's, you know, more expensive. And I was chatting to one of the guys at GT Amiga and we were speculating that this may even be a better, more solid option than what the GT Amiga Art is, because the wheelstand DDX is a very solid and flex-free front end, whereas the GT Amiga Art is based more on the classic wheelstand type of front end, so that does have a bit of wobble and flex. Again, fine for its price point and for its entry-level nature, whereas this, a bit beefier, a bit more solid. So 60 quid upgrade. It looks super simple. I'll just show you the instructions quickly. You can see really it's just a couple of lengths of box section and some legs and some brackets, and that's pretty much it. So it isn't going to take me very long to put it on. It comes with a bag of bolts and some feet in here and the tools to attach it. As always, I'll be using the included tools to get the full retail experience. The actual stuff itself is just really the same box section construction that you'll have seen for the wheel stand itself. So all perfectly decent stuff for a solid, potentially entry-level cockpit. We've got a few of these brackets here as well, if you want to have a quick peek at those. A couple of mil in thickness again. Entry-level stuff, priced accordingly, it should be fine. I mean, I reviewed the wheel stand really well. It's a very solid wheel stand. No problems recommending it whatsoever. I'm assuming we're going to lose this little tray here that you would put the legs or the feet of your chair into, and then just bolt this all together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll stick a seat on it as well before I do a little close-up walk around, because it ain't going to be particularly interesting looking at it assembled. There ain't really much there. So I'll get these back half on and I'll grab a seat and put that on. We'll do a little walk around and then I'll get some sim gear on it and do a little bit of test driving, and we'll see how it goes. But to be honest, we're just bolting a seat to the back of an already solid frame. It's going to be decent, isn't it? So let's get on with it. As expected, that didn't take very long at all. I put the seat on and I put the steering wheel, wheelbase and pedals on as well. Ready to give it a go in a second. I'll do a quick walk around in a minute, just a close up as well. But already positive results where it actually joins the wheel stand. I was curious whether it would have any sort of movement or flex or play at those little brackets. But with it attached now, you probably won't see this on camera, but with it attached now, I can pick the cockpit up from the back here and it isn't articulating where those sort of close to 40-degree bends join. It's as I lift the back, the front lifts up immediately as well. When I sit in it and I push hard on the brake pedal, we're not getting any lift in the middle, which actually is something I think the GT Amiga Art suffers with if you don't have the caster wheels on. But with this, I can put all my strength through my leg and it's not lifting off the ground at all. So far, that's a plus over the Art straight away. You know, aside from that, we've got the adjustment to the driving position. I actually need to lower this a little bit because this is still set up for when I have my office chair. In fact, may as well just do it now because it is only a couple of thumb screws Oh, I need to adjust the shifter mount as well, which isn't a couple of thumb screws. So I can't do that right now. I'll have to go grab a spanner. In fact, I may even leave it where it is. If I sit myself in a proper driving position. In fact, yeah, it's actually fine where it is. I don't need to adjust it. So yeah, driving position feels fine. So far, the seat, that's my phone. The seat can be slid forwards and backwards, not only on its normal runners, but also the brackets themselves that the seat attaches to. So this is all the way back. And I actually can't press my brake pedal because there's so much, and I can only just reach my steering with my fingertips. So good for tall people. I'm 6 foot for reference. Yeah, good for tall people as well. Anyway, I'll do a quick walk around and then we'll do some test drive footage as well. But I mean, so far, it holds a seat on the back. What else do we need to know? May as well finish watching the video now. Anyway, let's do a little close-up. Let's get in here and have a quick peek. So these are these sort of 40-degree or probably 35-degree brackets attached here, a couple of bolts there and there, and the same on the other side. This is where I thought there might be some articulation or flex, and there isn't. Doesn't lift here under braking, and then these just come along here, and we've got like a rear leg that runs across the back, also held on by these brackets. This is your front seat, sort of cross brace, cross member, rear seat cross member, literally just goes across, as you can see there. And then the seat itself, if I slide that back, you can see the seat itself just bolts down through there. These are slotted left and right, so you can get it nice and central. No issues there. And there's just 4 bolts, or 2 bolts, sorry, either side that hold these on. So it's super simple, really easy to fit. Not really much else to tell you. You've seen the wheel stand in the wheel stand review, but there it is again with the Fanatic stuff on. Let's just have a closer look at the back leg here in case you're curious. There it is, just a nice back leg with the feet fitted. These could of course be swapped out for caster wheels if necessary, if you need to sort of slide it to one side in your front room when it's not in use. It's something I used to actually do with my GT Amiga Art so that I could play it on the main TV, which was that TV actually back in the day. Old 1080p 65-inch display, the last of the 1080p displays from Panasonic before they went 4K at that screen size. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Let's get in and have a little test drive. Well, what to say? It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's the rear seat frame attachment. It allows you to put a seat on the back of your GT Amiga DDX wheel stand, and it's solid, it works perfectly, and it's 60 quid, a little less with my discount, which will be in the description. Does this take the crown from the GT Amiga Art as sort of my recommended entry-level cockpit? In some ways, yes, it does, because the front end is definitely more solid. The back end doesn't move either, as you'll see right now, I'm assuming, but the front end is definitely more rigid than what the GT Amiga Art is. As I say, the front of the Art is a little bit more similar to the GT Amiga Classic wheel stand, which does have a little bit of flex and play in it. Again, fine for entry level, but this is definitely a more solid option. There are some drawbacks though. We don't have integrated monitor mount points that you get with the GT Amiga Art. I think the monitor mount add-on for the Art is only about 60 quid. For this, you'd have to have a floor standing one, which is going to be more money. Also, I think it would be nice to be able to raise and lower the height of this rear seat. I was going to say the only seat, front and rear seat. Raise or lower the height of this seat. I would say it's actually a tiny bit low for my preferred driving position. Looking in the camera preview there, I look like I'm in a perfectly good driving position, and I am. But if you needed it to go higher, you can't, because what I've actually had to do is remove the shifter mount. I speculated I might need to drop this down a little bit, and I did have to drop it down another inch or two. So I've had to remove the shifter mount that's just laying on the floor there to be able to drop down this front a little bit. Now, if I was able to raise the seat up, of course, I could have done without removing that shifter mount. So there's a bit of a compromise there. If you want to use the shifter mount and at least this RS9 seat, you're going to have your wheel a little bit high up. Although that depends on what wheel and wheelbase you're using. Obviously the height of this CSL-DD puts the wheel where it puts the wheel. If you've got a wheelbase that sits a bit lower, then that won't be an issue for you. Although, I mean, there probably aren't many that sit much lower than that, in all fairness. So, yeah, being able to raise up the seat would definitely be a plus. Now, if you're a DIYer, that would be pretty simple, just to get a couple of blocks to space it up and some longer bolts. It wouldn't be hard to do at all. But if you're not someone that can DIY, then obviously you're stuck with the seat height where it is. But yeah, as far as I can sort of figure out, let's stop that. That's my only two negatives. On the GT Amiga Art, there are uprights here that you would slot the monitor stand into, and they don't exist on this. And the seat can be raised and lowered. I think there's 3 different bolt positions on the GT Amiga Art for seat height adjustment. They are the only 2 drawbacks, but it is a more solid platform. You know, you can run, this is a little 8 Newton meter DD, runs that without any wobble or flex. I dare say it would quite happily take a 12, you know, maybe even a 16, and you might get a little bit of movement perhaps when it peaks at 16, but for the most part it's going to be solid. So overall, the whole thing is a strong recommendation if it's in your budget, if you like its appearance, and if you think the seating position you see here is acceptable, because you cannot currently raise this seat without doing any DIY. Anyway, I think that probably just about covers everything. As always, thank you very much for watching. There is a link in the description with a discount, and take it easy.